but it's $1 million up for each one. That's $5 million, Mr. 28 million in Forbes. Bring yours however you want. And since you're not a puppet, don't bring no white people with you then. That's a $5 million bet individually. You can take it all, or you can take it part and parcel. This is the new movement. And tell them plastic cup boys, we make enough money to drink out of real glassware.
I'm gonna need you to get rid of all the leftover pizza boxes.
The what?
All the boxes left over from the pizza. All the boxes.
Okay.
Make sure you recycle the plastic like we talked about.
Yeah.
Katt Williams recently revealed a surprising hidden message in Diddy's leaked phone call from jail. It's truly shocking. In an earlier video, Katt is seen raising a hand sign while passionately speaking for a cause. The gesture forms a heart, which symbolizes love and delivers a powerful message.
This is the new movement.
See, Diddy's my nickname.
Uh-huh.
Love is my real name.
Okay.
So I just changed my name to Love. Sean Love Combs. That's what it says on my driver's license. That's my official name, Love.
Yes, Katt Williams is clearly calling out Diddy by breaking apart the heart symbol with his hands. In the video, Katt makes mysterious comments about plastic and pizza boxes. These strange hints suggest Diddy might be involved in other shady activities. Katt speaks in riddles but delivers a chilling line, $1 million for each box. Many people now believe that pizza boxes could be a secret code for children, possibly implying that he's telling others to get rid of them for a shocking $1 million each.
But it's $1 million up for each one. That's $5 million, Mr. 28 million in Forbes.
This alleged leak call from Diddy in prison was talking about getting rid of pizza boxes. Now, if you know your stuff and you're privy, you know exactly what pizza stands for, and that's probably what they're talking about and referring to on this alleged leak call. Pizza, for those who don't know, I'm gonna make it very clean. It has to do with children and selling.
Make sure you recycle the plastic like we talked about.
The word plastic that Diddy reportedly wants to get rid of still has people confused. No one is sure what it really means. Katt Williams also mentions the plastic cup boys in the video, hinting that there might be a bigger conflict going on.
And tell them plastic cup boys, we make enough money to drink out of real glassware.
People are starting to think that Katt Williams might be using a secret code to talk about Diddy's hidden stash of baby oil. This wouldn't be the first time Katt has gone after powerful people in Hollywood. He has often taken aim at the Illuminati, which is rumored to include celebrities like Diddy and Jay-Z.
Katt Williams just went on Joe Rogan and completely exposed the satanic rituals in Hollywood, the agenda to feminize men, and compared the Transformer movement to the Baphomet. Listen to this.
Show me one person that ever wore a dress in Hollywood unsuccessfully. That's how you understand what a ritual is.
Katt goes on to say the first time he heard of a Transformer was the Baphomet, and that he's seen this agenda coming 20 years ago. This is all interesting because if you've been watching my videos for a while, you've seen me call it the Baphomet agenda, like what Madonna's doing to her son she adopted from Africa. Charlize Theron and her kid, she started transforming at 3 years old. Ex-NBA player Dwayne Wade and his kid. About Machine Gun Kelly and his girlfriend Megan Fox, who've admitted to doing satanic rituals in which they consume each other's blood. Megan Fox has done the same things with hers. MGK did this to his body in order to prove his love to Megan Fox. And Hollywood's been feminizing some of the biggest male entertainers. Now listen to Katt.
The earliest I had seen that word gender was Baphomet.
This is a spiritual war. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. Hollywood puts people at the forefront for us to worship and idolize. And these are the same people who worship and idolize Satan. It is time for us to break free of the shackles they've had on our minds. Satan is going all out because he knows his time is short. Time to wake up.
Did you know Katt Williams has had past issues with Suge Knight, who was once close to Tupac and is a known enemy of Diddy? Suge is now serving a 28-year sentence in federal prison. He once had a dangerous encounter with Katt Williams that he barely escaped. Their troubled past adds another layer to the already complicated drama in the hip-hop world.
You understand consequences and repercussions very well.
Okay.
So, my question to you is, why are you such a habitual line stepper? Why do you cross that line so often when you know what the repercussions and consequences are going to be? And they're not going to be favorable to you. For example,
Right.
I saw where you and Suge got arrested, right? You and Suge got arrested. Is that true?
Alleged.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Okay.
Like, and
What were we doing?
allegedly it had something to do with like some type of camera or something like that. I'm not sure. I'm just sure. I'm just saying this is what I read.
I'll tell you the story, and
okay.
you tell
Tell me
me,
the story.
then does that change how you frame this?
Okay.
So, we have a meeting with a hologram company, which is going to go into a licensing deal on some holograms. This is in Beverly Hills. So now there's a rodeo, and behind that is an alleyway where you park your vehicles. That's where we are. Suge has brought his son with him, who's 5 years old. And before we go into this meeting, Suge's son runs behind the dumpster and urinates. And a lady films his penis out, peeing behind the dumpster. And then says, "Oh, I thought that was Katt's kid." So yeah, that's what happened.
See, this is
So
why
understand, we were facing 20 years,
Yeah.
Suge and I. 20 years for that. And if it wasn't for the fact that this is Beverly Hills and it's all on camera, they had no problem sending us up the river when we couldn't have possibly done what was being said. That lady said that she got jumped on by me.
So you see what you just did? You just clarified a huge, misconception about, the events of that evening or whatever.
Yeah, but remember, it went to court.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't just my word. They had to play the video in court, which showed that her altercation wasn't with a man at all.
But the trip part about it is that when people print it, when the media, mainstream media put it out there, they don't add that piece. They
No,
just say,
nor do they make a retraction.
Right.
Nor do they say, hey, that thing we told you about that guy, turns out it was nothing. Understand, I got 15 cases that were dismissed. That should be talked about. Why would 15 cases be dismissed? Because you were so sure you had what you were looking at. Because every city I go to, I'm the nigga with the best car. It's probably smoke coming out that car. It's probably girls gathering around that car. I look like the plug. I get it. And you've probably already hurt me by the time you find out who I actually am.
While Katt Williams is quietly hinting at secrets about Diddy, Suge Knight is making strong public statements from jail. In a recent interview, Suge made shocking claims about Diddy and even suggested that Diddy's life might be in real danger while he's at the Metropolitan Detention Center in New York.
Most important thing is there's got to be a solution, because this has been going on in the industry for a whole bunch of years, for decades. And at the same time, nobody wants this to be true, and it shouldn't have to be true.
Suge Knight, the founder of Death Row Records and one-time enemy of Sean Diddy Combs, talks about Combs' arrest by the feds in an interview with News Nation. I look at what the one-time record company owner said about Combs from behind prison walls. This week, he called Chris Cuomo on News Nation, and he had a lot to say about Sean Combs and what's going on with his case and the allegations of sex trafficking being made against him. One thing he talked about is whether or not he believes Sean Combs is safe being in jail. Sean Combs didn't want to be in jail. He wanted to post bail, a bail of $50 million, but the judge denied that request. He's in the MDC, and that's a federal prison with a really awful reputation. Knight was asked whether he thinks Combs is safe behind bars.
I don't never want to say he's in danger, and neither should he say that. Because once he gets to the point where they feel he's going to be suicidal to himself, harmful to himself, once they put him on suicide watch, you have a right to nothing. No socks, no drawers, no t-shirt, no blanket, no sheets. You asshole naked in a cell as a crazy man. So he definitely don't want to do that. And the other advice I would tell him, you know, maybe he should get on the Jewish diet. Because the kosher meals is way better than the food somebody else is making for you. At least they're going to come hot, they're going to come sealed, and you got to be the one to open them. That's very important.
What about people trying to hurt him?
Go to jail. I mean, one of the things is this. I don't care who you are. Prison and jail is a negative environment. Somebody can do something to them and get a name for themselves, they're going to actually do it. Or they can do whatever they feel they got to do to prove themselves. But we also got to learn. We got to learn from our mistakes. Everything don't have to be a mistake. You got to better yourself. But we all know what we signed up for in life.
Suge Knight also talked about the alleged freak-offs that Diddy has been part of since 2008. These wild events have stayed hidden from the public for a long time, but Suge is now revealing their scandalous nature.
Knight then offered his thoughts on the freak-offs.
Well, number one, luckily, I wasn't their first choice, their second choice. I wasn't no choice to be at those freaky parties. But you know what they show. They used to have a thing in the industry, right? And the sad thing about it, I don't like listening to Usher. I don't like listening to Justin Bieber. I don't like listening to all these people that everybody know what time it is. So at the same time, they used to have a joke. They never played this joke with me. And they used to walk in the Interscope office. They'd go back there and they'd be like, hey, we passed the test. I said, we haven't did the test. One dude said, well, don't say that in front of Mr. Knight because he's going to take it offensive and hurt somebody. I said, well, whatever it is, I probably would take it offensive when somebody would get their ass whooped. You know, that was me in those days. But they used to have these guys, they used to call it the boiled egg test. They used to take a boiled egg, a raw boiled egg, they have those guys put their pants down and bend over and they stick it up. The eggs break, they say they're not ready yet. They ain't put enough work in. This is Hollywood. So everybody want to go act like they don't know what's going on.
Hold on a second,
but
Suge.
if you just look,
Suge,
all you gotta do is
I have never heard of anything like that. So if I haven't heard about it, just assume a lot of people haven't heard that before. But you think it's on video?
Let's stop for a second.
Go ahead, Suge.
Yeah, listen, and also, have you ever been to any puffy parties?
No.
You sure they had a long time to think about it. But if you haven't been in those butt naked parties, even some of the preachers been in those parties, and they wasn't on their knees praying for God. See, they was praying for somebody to have come real quick or something. But I wasn't there, but there's proof of it. But at the same time, everybody want to look around and act like something going on that wasn't right. It's the facts of life in the industry.
So that was kind of graphic, but this is what Suge Knight is saying, and at one point, he ran in these circles. Knight also talked about Sean Combs, who he calls Puffy, because that's how he knew him in the 90s, as Puffy, being violent with Cassie Ventura, and a woman he called Capricorn.
The famous East Coast-West Coast feud was a violent rivalry between Diddy's Bad Boy Records and Suge Knight's Death Row Records. Understanding how this major conflict started is important before we go deeper into Diddy's story.
Alright, so this is why everybody thinks Diddy, Tupac. You know the whole mystery surrounding Tupac? Well, it's not a mystery. This guy told police a long time ago that he's the one who did it. Now I know what you're thinking. Well, that doesn't look like Diddy. And well, you're right. His name is Keefy D, and he was friends with a guy named Diddy. And well, Diddy had a problem, and his problem's name was Suge Knight, a record executive who had a reputation for violence. Well, one day during an award show, he says, "Join my record label. I won't dance around in your videos like some other people." Everybody looked at Diddy. Diddy said, "No, he's not talking about me." Diddy's voice said, "Go talk to him." So he goes over to Suge Knight. He runs into a brick wall. He said, "What is Wall doing here?" His boy said, "Diddy, look up." Diddy looks up. He said, "Oh." The guy said, "Is there a problem?" Diddy said, "No, I just want to know who you was talking about." Now, Diddy claims that Suge Knight said he was talking about somebody else and not him. But that's not what it looked like, because a few months later, Diddy and Suge Knight get in an argument at a party. Now Diddy has some real around him, so he's chilling. He said, "What, Suge?" But Suge wasn't worried, because see, there's something I forgot to tell you. Suge was affiliated with a group of individuals called the Bloods. For those of you that don't know, they were a gang that started in LA, and they had a legendary rivalry with another gang called the Crips. But remember that group of people I told you with Diddy? They were from the Crips. So the argument escalates to like a scuffle. Suge Knight and his really close friend against Diddy's crew. Diddy was like, I thought we was just talking. Security then throws him out. Diddy's people walk over to Suge with a security tries to stop them, but Suge Knight's friend, Diddy said, "Oh, snap." Diddy goes home. Diddy said he can't be that mad, right? Diddy's people said, he hung Vanilla Ice off a balcony. Diddy said, so he calls his friend, Keefy D. Well, it turns out Keefy D was also the leader of a group of Crips. Diddy tells him, "Yo, I'm terrified." Keefy D said, "Well, you should be. There's a war going on in LA because of what happened between you guys." Diddy said, "I didn't do nothing." Everybody knows Suge Knight ain't trying to hear all that. So Diddy tells Keefy D he would appreciate it if Suge Knight was gone. But it wasn't like an official request. It wasn't too serious until Tupac Shakur. Now there's something really important you gotta know. Before any of this happened, Tupac was upset at his close friend Biggie and Diddy because, listen closely, when Tupac was in New York, he was recording in a studio. Biggie and Diddy were in another room. At that studio, Tupac gets 5 times after an attempted robbery, but Tupac survives. He tells Biggie and Diddy, "I know y'all knew that was gonna happen." Biggie said, "Boy, do I look like Raven Simone's." But you see, Tupac wasn't just spouting out crazy theories. The guy who Tupac had a relationship with Diddy, and well, Diddy was at the studio, and the streets talk. But not many people know this, but Tupac kind of got over it because he knew it was just a theory. But regardless, the East Coast and the West Coast split. People on the West Coast, where Tupac was from, was saying Biggie, and the East Coast, Tupac. But they weren't listening to what Tupac was saying. He said, "No, he didn't." Tupac said, "I just think he knew about it." And here's where things start to get wicked. A song drops from Biggie called "Who Shot Ya?" And it sounds like he's making fun of what happened to Tupac. Tupac loses it. Suge Knight approaches him and says, "Hey, you hate Biggie and Diddy. I hate Biggie and Diddy. Why don't you join my label?" Tupac also didn't have much choice because Suge Knight paid his bail, but that's besides the point. They team up. Tupac says, "Sure. Also, I should probably let you know I have the potential to end this whole thing." Tupac had a nuke called "Hit 'Em Up," a song considered as the greatest diss track of all time, where Tupac is going in on Diddy, Biggie, and anyone associated with them. Suge Knight said, "God damn, why didn't you release this?" Well, the story goes, somebody slid Diddy a copy of "Hit 'Em Up." Diddy said, "God, he can't release this." So Diddy takes the beat, and Diddy's label records a new song over it. Tupac hears the song, and he is pissed. But he holds on to his version so he can really make it venomous. And here's where things get wickeder. Biggie and Diddy are flying out to LA for an award show. Pilots are now arriving in sunny California. Also, Diddy, Suge Knight still looking for you. Diddy said, "What'd he say?" The flight attendant said, "Oh, he said, we're cooking for you. Are you okay?" Diddy said, "Oh." See, Diddy was still paranoid about what Suge Knight was finna do to him. Now Tupac on his ass too, he's freaking out. Biggie said, "Chill, yo, they're not gonna do nothing." They did something. Biggie and Diddy arrive at the award show. Tupac wins an award, but they don't let him go on stage because the award show knew what he was on. They saw him backstage. He said, "Is Diddy here?" They said, "No, you can't go outside." Biggie then wins an award. Biggie then goes backstage with Diddy. Suge Knight and Tupac are backstage, and it gets to cracking. Them boys start scuffling. Something important to note is the whole time Crips and Bloods are like mixed into this whole thing. Biggie's friend goes, "Man, what's good?" He brings out the... But everybody gets separated before it could really escalate.
What's about to be revealed might be the most shocking truth kept secret for years. The hit was originally meant for Suge Knight, but Tupac was accidentally shot instead.
At this point, Tupac is infuriated. Suge Knight tells him, "Drop the song, drop the nuke." Tupac throws the song away, walks in the studio, and explodes on the track. He goes off and records a way more violent and venomous version. Suge Knight was like, "Shh." Tupac then releases a song, and it is a hit. Everyone's listening to it. But Diddy hears something else. He hears the anger. Tupac was known to be a loose cannon, so he hits up Keefy D, and he says, "Remember what we talked about Suge Knight? We'll add Tupac to the list too." And everything comes to a head in Las Vegas by pure coincidence. See, Mike Tyson's having a fight in Vegas, and he invites his close friend Tupac to watch his fight. But Keefy D and Keefy D's nephew are there. Now pay attention, we about to start zigzagging. Somebody from Suge Knight's crew sees Keefy D's nephew. They tell Suge Knight, "Hey, that guy's part of the Crips." Suge Knight, blood affiliated, so they put the pause on Keefy D's nephew. Keefy D's nephew goes to Keefy D. He says, "Suge Knight and Tupac put the pause on me." Keefy D says, "Well, I guess the Diddy deal is on. Focus. Keefy D then goes to a guy named Zip, a big-time street guy whose job is to make sure this whole thing goes according to plan for Diddy. Zip tells Keefy D Diddy said $1 million. Remember, your main target, Suge Knight. Keefy D says, gotcha. Suge Knight and Tupac are driving through Vegas when Keefy D and Keefy D's nephew pull up beside him. Keefy D gives his nephew the nephew is pissed because Tupac really put the paws on him earlier. So the nephew goes, boom. First shot grazes Suge Knight's head and Suge Knight ducks, exposing Tupac. The nephew says, well, boom, boom, boom. Tupac passed. Now, you gotta understand, this is Tupac Shakur, one of the most famous people in the world. The FBI and the police are going to figure this out. In fact, as soon as Keefy D gets home, the FBI starts watching him. They said, boy, come on. Keefy D said, y'all got evidence? The FBI said, not yet, but you sell stuff, don't you? This kind of stuff. The FBI says, cool. The Colombians who supplied Keefy D said, the FBI, oh no, you got it. So Keefy D loses a bunch of money, but he says it's all good because Diddy said he was gonna pay me. He calls Diddy. Diddy ain't answer the call. He goes to Zip. Remember the middleman? Zip says, Diddy ain't give me the money. He tracks Diddy down and says, boy, you better give me that money. Diddy says, I gave it to Zip. Everyone says he gave it to Zip. Long story short, he never gets the money. The FBI finally cracks on him for the business. Keefy D says, well, I hate Diddy, so how about I just give you info on what happened to Tupac? Keefy D then goes into extreme detail about how Diddy hired him. Now, this is what the LAPD wanted all along. They formed a whole task force to figure out what happened to Biggie, not Tupac, because Biggie's mom was suing the LAPD when Biggie got in Los Angeles. So the LAPD went hard in investigation, which led them down the Tupac rabbit hole. By the way, they're pretty sure it's Suge Knight Biggie for revenge for what happened to Tupac. Now, a member of the LAPD task force named Greg Kading came out and said, yeah, everything Keefy D said matched up perfectly with our investigation. We were pretty sure Diddy did it. I don't know what you're thinking. Well, if they had all this evidence, why didn't they solve it? Well, for one, the city of Los Angeles shut down the task force after Biggie's mom dropped the lawsuit. For two, according to Keefy D, the FBI told him that there wasn't enough evidence to link Keefy D and Diddy. More specifically, since Diddy paid Zip and Zip didn't pay you, there's not enough evidence. And since Diddy is a billionaire with the best lawyers in the world, they need strong evidence. And Diddy's lawyers are just gonna say Keefy D said all this to keep himself out of jail. But Keefy D gets arrested anyway for Tupac because he writes a book about the event. He said, I thought I had immunity. The Las Vegas police tell him, no, you had an agreement with the LAPD for those specific charges. We found new evidence and, well, you finna get life. But I think the most interesting part is since the cases are technically unsolved, you can't say Diddy did it. What the police and rappers in the industry have been saying for decades. 50 Cent really early on said, yeah, by the way, Diddy did it. Eminem makes a song listing out what happened saying Diddy did it. It was the worst kept secret in the industry. But Diddy will probably never get charged for it. But also, I don't think the FBI cares because I'm sure the way they see it is he's gonna get life for all the other stuff he did, so